That's a new one. I haven't seen that before. So can you guys all hear us all right?
Gotcha. Yep.
Yep, I can.
Vic, do you want to take over at this point?
Who is read AI meeting notes?
That's the automated generator for the meeting notes.
Never seen that. Sounds like Bronson's on the way over here.
Should we wait just a moment?
Go back to you. Yeah, we should not pay. Oh, here's Becky.
Hi guys, I'm sorry. I just came back from vacation and it's a spirited week to come back to, as I'm sure many of you can relate to.
I hadn't noticed.
As I said to Spafford, I was like, I went away for a week and you guys invited a Russian dictator to come to town? Like, what's going on? I go away for a week and suddenly Putin's here. Like,
Somebody just.
Bronson crying over there on the right.
so on that note, I'm going to have to bow out a little bit early. I have a meeting about this potential summit at 2 o'clock. So I apologize to you guys. I'm going to have to leave a few minutes early.
Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and get the meeting started. It is 1:04. Can we just go through online who are online here? I see Bert. Bronson's on his way.
Yes, I'm here.
Casey Marathon on. Hello.
See. Then Luke, I'm sorry. Hasn't
Yeah, Luke Hasenbeck with Alaska Maritime Agencies.
Okay, and then here in the room, we've got John Daly, Jeff Jager, Jim Jager, sorry. Art Darlene, myself, Vic, and sorry, and then Chris Shippen, guy, and then Eric Jacobs. Anybody I missed? Okay.
Sorry, Rebecca, can you mute your mic? We're picking up your keyboard strokes.
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay, so couple things on the agenda. I mean, we have the agenda that was sent out, and Jim, thanks for sending it out. I know you're trying to catch up and dig out a.
Yes, I know. I got several things wrong and I was not able to fix those. I apologize.
No, that's fine. We'll get it all sorted out. And so we've got the agenda that's in front of us. One of the things I did just send out, because I just recalled that we did not approve the April 14th or 14th, I think it was, minutes. And that was supposed to be done this board meeting. I did send it out to the board members, the PAMP members. So apologies, I just found it. So, and sent it out for everybody's review. So we can either, I don't know if anybody's had a chance to look at it. We can either go through it or we can also push that off till later. Bert has also added a few items to the agenda. And I'll just we only have an hour here, so I'm just gonna go read through what Bert has asked, which are mostly updates, PCT crane and line soak flush actions, the POBI stripping line update, Moffett and Nickel review of the T2 alignment, and Moffett and Nickel berth occupancy study analyzing the need for an alternate fuel unloading facility, which I think in some of the agenda items that we have here, some of these areas will be covered. Are there any other changes or additions to the agenda by anyone?
Yeah, Vic, I got one more. It's come to my attention that I guess the longshoremen are requesting a guardrail put up on the PCT. So I'm not sure I'm not sure if Jim even knows about that or if you guys even know about that, but if we could put that on the agenda as well as far as resolving that issue.
I have not seen.
Okay. Are you aware?
That might be the bull rail.
Is this the bull rail you're talking about?
I'm not sure exactly. I got it from Brittany. It basically says, to keep them from falling in the ocean, obviously, but I'm not sure, the details on it.
You get the details and then punch that to the next meeting.
Yeah.
All right,
And I'm sorry, Vic, you said PCT crane and line, so the two Moffett nickels, I missed one in between.
OB stripping line update. Okay, so with that said, can I get a motion to approve the agenda if there are no other additions or changes?
Should approve.
Do I have a second?
Second,
Good. Thank you, appreciate it. June 17 meeting minutes. Those were sent out by Jim on Saturday or Friday night, Saturday morning. Any questions, comments, changes? We'll have some follow-ups here today from those minutes as part of our agenda. If none, can I get a motion to approve?
motion to approve.
A second. Bird.
Second.
All right. Thank you. That being done, we'll go down old business. And the first two shouldn't take too long. I'll just give you an update on the Matson SDS cranes.
So, just so you know, I do have a PowerPoint
Okay.
that follows that agenda. As of this morning, I didn't get.
Is it on?
Yeah,
Okay.
I have it and that's on there and you're welcome to speak to it, but I do have.
Okay, go ahead. Why don't you just put it up?
Yeah.
Hey, Brad.
Yep. So, this John Daly,
Better shirt.
and what I did was I created a PowerPoint for the items that were on the agenda as of this morning. I didn't get the latest additions that Bert had, but this was an attempt to create an outline for talking.
Are you able to see the PowerPoint right now?
No.
No,
No,
Sorry, it's mouse.
Can you guys see that?
Yep.
Good job.
Okay, next slide. So this was the agenda that I had this morning. So next slide. And Vic, maybe you can speak to this better. I just put a few items on.
Okay. Purchase and use legal agreement that continues, as mentioned there. We are in the process of looking for sourcing used cranes with all the issues or all the tariffs and unknowns that have come up here in the last few months, as everybody is aware, with no clarity in sight at any time soon. So we continue the search for used cranes. We do have a few identified already. And we're working on those, but until we sign that bottom line, we will keep our options open on other cranes that are also down on the West Coast. The third bullet point there, this is was tied to as well one of the or the three of the cranes that we're looking at as far as making sure that the dock has designed, since we are not going with at this point a new crane, that whatever we find meets the requirements on being able to handle the weight of the crane on the pier itself. So the one that we did identify, which is in Seattle, that is the dock itself as designed will be able to carry the wheel loads of these three cranes, as well as the other piece that we looked at was the electrical requirements of these cranes. So that was relayed to the port, and adjustments are being made for the transformer that is being put in by the port itself.
Vic, these are different cranes than the initial, because I thought the initial pair identified were actually going to require more structural modification.
The cranes itself, Becky, will require some modifications just for the size, basically for seismic. That was all taken into consideration in the analysis that we provided to ensure that the dock itself will be able to handle the wheel loads.
Becky, this is John. The initial analysis came back, the wheel loads are slightly larger than what the dock was originally designed for, but it's within the margin of safety. And we have a letter from the designer of record saying that it's fine. We don't need any structural modifications to the dock.
Oh, got it. Okay, so we've just confirmed that the possible structural modifications we'd contemplated are actually not necessary. That's good news. Thanks.
Okay. Next slide.
So I can take this one on, and we're bringing these to this group because we're actually not asking for any decisions in terms of formal decision, but they're informational because they may require that in the future. So we were looking for a location for the stevedore building. We found one that everybody liked. We ran it through the designer of record and the contractor. And it turns out the cost for deep soil mixing to support that location is higher than we thought. It was $10 to $15 million. To do the ground improvements, the building itself is $4 to $5 million. So it's kind of saying we can't really do it. So now we're back to the drawing board and we're looking for another location. The issue is wherever they put this, there needs to be parking and there needs to be pedestrian access to the dock without running as little as possible across truck lanes and things like that. So it's a bit of a challenge, but letting you know that we're kind of back to the drawing. It's just an informational update. Yeah, that shows that gray box there shows the ground improvement, the area. They were originally going to put it south of the south access trestle. It's a nice location, lots of room for parking, easy to walk to, but the shore isn't stable there and we're make it stable. It's very expensive.
So question be, is the assumption that the surrounding area is the same way, all of that on the shore there?
Yes.
Same issues.
Yeah. Basically, we need ground improvements for it. So.
What other options are there?
Maybe moving it over kind of where the yellow box dead center is. That's the Povey, but near the Povey. We're not sure. Away from the edge of the slope, basically back in the uplands more. Okay, next slide. So this was one of the items that Bert had mentioned, the upland planning and optimization. So we have a fee proposal for Moffett Nickel to do the additional work. That's in to the assembly. It's in for approval on the assembly August 26th agenda. So we're hopeful that will go forward. The work that is included in that is to provide an option for T2 uplands that doesn't include a dock extension to provide a little better clarity on the lease lot line between T1 and T2 in the uplands to define that and to provide some additional meetings and presentations. So we're kind of all spun up, ready to do that, waiting on assembly approval. Next slide, please.
Hey, okay, go ahead. So,
And just as a reminder, this is their.
We're not seeing the slides. Or I'm not anyway. I'm sorry, there it is. Never mind, sorry.
Okay, so this is the current configuration. The green lines on the left are Matson, the green lines on the right are Toad. The area right in the dead center is the yard that Matson currently uses, which is one of the issues is as they move south, what happens to that yard? Next slide. This is just a reminder of what the issue is. So this is kind of the permitted future condition with the dock lengths remaining as designed. If Matson keeps control of that center portion of the yard, then Toad has to kind of go around it. Becomes an island that requires a right-hand turn, makes it a little awkward. So there you go. That's the current condition if we don't modify anything. Next slide. And then this is what we came up with as a solution to that, which was to extend the dock slightly, reconfigure the boundary line. That makes everything happy except for it requires a longer dock extension, which is expensive. Next slide. And then I just threw this in there to remind everybody that we also still have a bit of an issue in that this drawing is from the designer of records mortgage plans, and they show this is a 5,000 TEU ship that's 900 and something feet long. And that turns out to be about the average size of a container ship today, in today's world, worldwide. And so our new dock will not be able to accommodate that. So that was another impetus to talking about maybe a slightly longer dock. It's future proofing for the fleet. So that's just a kind of reminder of the issues, but we're ready to move forward with as directed with Moffett Nichols. Okay, next slide. This was
so back up 1 second. So just to also point out, because that was part of the discussion, or that was a big topic of discussion last time, but we did meet after the PAB meeting last time, and we met with Moffett and Nickel, the port, Toad and Matson to kind of discuss the issue at hand. So I think at this point, we're waiting on Moffett and Nickel to come back with some input on yard layouts, if I understand that correct, right?
And they're waiting for this change.
For this August 26th, right? So, I just wanted to point out that we've also been having discussions on that subject.
okay.
John, quick question. Maybe, there'll be a subsequent Moffett and Nickel study to show, what's the best we could do with the as permitted option. I think maybe it's an item of note when presenting it in the future. It's a land side issue, and then also what you just, your previous slide of just, it's T1, T2, and the land side issue. But I think we should talk about comprehensively versus just, okay, what's, the issue with the land side, and then, okay, moving on to T1 might need to be extended as well, because I think when in a comprehensive view, we can, I think, maybe take a better stance on it than just one issue at a time.
Yeah, and I'm sensitive to the fact there's some, there may be a little politics about who does this benefit and who's requiring what. And honestly, I'm looking at it personally from just a pure planning point of view. Yeah. Remove all that. What does it look like for the future having two terminals with the clear uplands and future proofing each side of the operation? I don't care about all that other stuff. Really, it's more look at it as if you're coming into this thing 20 years from now, wondering what they were thinking when they laid this out. Did they mean us think of this thing clearly for the future. That's it. So, but any way we can present it to make it
Well,
better.
there's a thought maybe, 'cause,
Yeah.
I mean, even the permitted option, it's not that the land side was permitted. The docks were permitted, and then our assumption was, okay, if the leases hold the same, this is what would have to happen. So that was a default
Right.
view of it. There was no thought into, and this isn't knock, this is just saying like that default option wasn't an operational decision made, right? So I think that's why it should be a comprehensive.
That was a your decision situation.
Right. That was just not dealing with. So it has. Okay, more discussion to come. I think we're pretty well spun up, ready to go. We just need to push the button. Okay, and then this is substation location. This is another informational one. We may be coming back to this board to ask for some approval for the location of the substation. The default position is right out here in our parking lot between this and the maintenance building. That has some downsides to it. The immediate downside is that land is valuable for cargo operations. It's also parking and access and everything else. So it's a valuable piece of highly used real estate. And once you put a substation there, you're done with it. So we do have our contractor on board, design build contractor. They're doing a good job so far. Their initial results were, yeah, we agree. It doesn't fit there very well. We like it more on the north end. Everything looks better from a design point of view. We're waiting to get a cost in a little more detail on that. The cost would be mostly associated with running some underground conduits. The substation itself would be more or less identical. It's just a matter of running conduits. And so once we know that number and get a little more information, we'll probably come back to this board and ask for decisions. Slide, please. And this is the graphic that shows it on the north end with the yellow lines being longer conduits. And the base project is in that little square up by the end, just as a reminder. Okay. And here's their schedule. So we have a little bit of time now. They're getting ready to order the long lead time items, and they're doing this site selection and design. As far as their schedule. Planning on doing some work starting next year. So. Okay, next slide. So here's a new one for you, POL2 condition. So it turns out that, once we start looking at schedules and we're looking at tearing down POL1 as part of the T1 construction, that leaves us with two POL docks, POL2 and PCT. We've done a fair amount of work on berth occupancy and need and all that, so we kind of know we need these two. This spring, the CP guys went out and did their annual CP survey, and they got under the dock and found some damage to one of the plow caps. I'll show you some pictures of that. We'd also done a low tide inspection early in the spring to look at the piles and fenders, and kind of all of a sudden hit us that there's a lot more than one thing going wrong on POL2. So this is a list of all the different things that are going wrong on it. Hydraulic crane needs to be fixed. The rubber fenders are falling off and need to be repaired. We have a project to do that. Some of the fender pin piles have buckled and corroded. We don't have anything to fix that yet. Many of the main dock piles have corrosion holes in them. We fixed some previous ones, but there's some new ones now. The CP system isn't working as well as it should. And then we now have this tile cap issue. So where we're going with this, we're going to start a project to do a more detailed evaluation of this. And it could have some impacts on things going forward. Next slide, please. So this is a picture of the fenders. If you look closely, you can see some of their cylindrical, side-loaded cylindrical fenders. Some of them are missing. This is at about mid-tide. Actually, we had some tires chained up in places, but there's actually quite a number of them missing. They need to be replaced. Next slide. If you look at the bottom of this is a fender with a missing rubber element. You can see a little piece of one at the top. And then at the bottom where the sleeve hits the pile's buckled and broken at the bottom. So piling that's at the very bottom of this that holds up the fender is damaged. Those probably all need to be replaced. Next slide, please. There's a close-up of the damaged pin pile that's holding the fender up. Next slide, please. And this was a low tide. These are spiral welded pipes. The weld area corrodes preferentially to the base metal, so it goes away very quickly, and it's all concave. If you look at all the welds, especially below low tide line. And it becomes really obvious because when the tide is high, the water ingresses into the pile. When it goes out, it releases water and it pees. So we look around at which ones are peeing. And there was, I don't know, 4 or 5 of them this time that were peeing. Every year there's a new batch of them. So we figured that a lot of these piles need sleeves, pile jacket sleeves to enhance them. In the earthquake, a number of them welds failed that were already compromised. Next slide, please. And then this was the new damage that was discovered this spring. This is a pile cap on one of the approach trestles there. Pretty serious exposure of the reinforcing that starts to corrode and it falls and pops the concrete off. These are pre-tension concrete pile caps, which means the main strands that are at the bottom of these beams have tension in them and their primary structural element. If we were to lose those, then this thing could break and collapse. They're a critical structural component. We don't think that's not what you're seeing here. You're not seeing the pre-stressing strands, but makes you worried. Next slide, please. That's a close-up of the corrosion that's happening there. Next slide, please. So it's kind of what we just said. The cost could be 5 million or more to keep this thing alive for another 10 years. If we start on it now, if it goes out of service, it has very serious impacts to the port because POL1 will be gone. If this goes out of service, then we are down to 1 POL dock, which is kind of alarming. Next slide, please. So our action items is we've solicited proposals from our consultants to do a condition assessment and a structural load rating. So they're 2 different things. Condition assessment is they look at the whole dock, all the different parts and pieces, write a report. How are the fenders? How are the piles? How is the deck? How is the crane? The whole thing, just a big report about the whole dock. And they'll list all the things that need to be repaired. The structural load rating looks at that pile cap and tells us, is it safe to drive on that? And how do we need to repair it? Right now, we're a little worried because we'd like to go fix the fenders, but we don't know if we can drive out there or not without falling through the dock. So we got that proposal in hand. We're trying to figure out how to contract it. We might need a change order authority to do that through our Michael Baker. Do you have a question, sir? Yes. Oh,
Yeah, what's the timeline on these items?
well, that's a good question, Bert. We're working as hard as we can on it. We're probably gonna have to get a change order to our term contract in order to advance this. We're out of money on that right now. We've used up our total budget for that. And so we're probably gonna have to go back to the assembly and get change order authority increase, I guess is the word, to do that.
So is that gonna be at the next assembly meeting? I'm just trying to, petition the cause and make sure we get it approved, it's all.
Yeah, the sequence is we'll bring it to the IEUOC meeting, which is Thursday.
Next week.
Oh.
21st.
The 21st, yeah. So we'll bring it next week to them, preview it to the assembly, and then try to get it in front of, fill in all the paperwork and probably, I'm guessing it'll be September by the time we get it out. So the other thing, that's our action item. We do have the proposals, and they're ready to go to work. It's just we can find money and give them a PO. The other thing that we're doing is there's a new PIDP grant on the street. Is that correct, Jim? And we're
Correct. So what we're looking for is planning money for the patrol unit terminal. So that we can have it pre-planned and ready to go.
So when we met with Marriott, they came to town and they said, you know, it's a good idea sometimes for you guys to go out apply for a grant for planning and engineering. It's usually easier to get because you don't have to have environmental work. And then, try to talk over the jets again. If you get those grants, it's a smaller dollar amount too. It's $15 million or something like that as opposed to 50. So they're usually easier to get. Then if you get one, they like to follow you on construction. So this seems to fit that. So fits with a strategy to get some preliminary planning on the petroleum terminal. If we were to find ourselves in a situation where we had to advance that quicker, we would be prepared. And Marriott seems to be prepared.
John, good question. So what does this do to PAMP, the PAMP timeline? Is this?
Right now, nothing, because there's an idea that we would, if we were forced to, we would have to build the PT before T2. That's an idea that's been discussed. It's not in our plans now. It's not what we're planning to do. We haven't changed anything. The only way, at least I would be in favor of it, is if we had to, like the dock fell in and we had no choice.
Would it, seeing as critical as it is, and I guess that's the question, would it push before T1 at all? Would we need POL2 and PCT?
Right now, that wouldn't be, we're underway, we're under contract with T1,
Yeah.
so.
To try and do some early works if we had to build the PT earlier, like if we go back to the PCT, sorry, I speak. Okay, I did that. You know how we did the south backline stabilization first, then transitional dredging, and then we built the dock, right? So it was like a 4-year project in theory, right? We'd try near the tail end, we'd try and see if we could do some of that work before T1 was done, if it was critical, right? But it'd have to be planned in because we got an $800 million contract right now, right? We don't want to incur any impacts to that, so we'd work to try and incorporate it as early as we could if we had to.
So is there two approaches to this thing? That there's a repair or is it?
There is a repair, yeah. But what hit us was it's not just one repair. All of a
Right,
sudden,
right.
everything on there seems like it's like you have a 1975 Buick and the whole damn thing's about to just part. So which piece needs to be repaired first? You know, pile cap is probably a big one because we got to get out there, but then there's the piles, the fenders, the crane, you know, it all adds up. Yeah. We also need a strategy for how we keep this thing going for 10 years and need kind of a budget too.
So we're looking at a combination of the condition and what the cost comparisons are.
Lev knows his hand up.
Hey, quick question. There was a jacket replacement kind of program that was ongoing 5-6 years ago. Was that ended at some point?
Yes, there was a jacket replacement program that was specific or primarily at Terminal 1 and POL 1 because that's where most of the damage was. We've actually replaced most of the jackets that were doable, and since that dock was scheduled to be demolished next summer, we basically stopped investing more money into that dock. At the time, POL 2 was not thought to be in as bad a shape as it's in. And then you'll remember the earthquake hit. We lost a bunch of piles under POL 2. We went in with earthquake repairs and did repairs on those piles. But we have not gotten we have to get back into the assessment business to understand whether we need to get back into the jacketing business.
Got it. Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, John.
Okay, so this was informational. We're more to come once we get the condition assessment and load rating back. I'd like to know where we're at with that. Next slide. Okay, T1 status and temporary facilities plan. This is another item on the agenda. So for T1, much of the steel plate has been ordered. for the piling, and procured. There's a series of, early payments that we've given to the contractor to pay for all that. The piling are being fabricated now in both Texas and in Anacortes, Washington. Texas, they're spiral welding some of the 1-inch plates for the bottom. It's 1 inch is as thick as they can do with that, so they're producing some of that down there in Texas. The rest of it, the thicker wall stuff, is being rolled individually in 10-foot sections in Anacortes. The pile coating will begin next week, and there's a site trip down there for a number of people to kick off the kind of the QA services of the piling. There'd be a lot of pile down there, a lot of coating, a lot of materials. We're gonna have a few folks from here that'll go down, and then there'll be at least weekly inspections on site down there to monitor what they're doing. So they're fully underway with fabricating the piles. That's the status of that. Next slide. So some of you attended the construction user outreach meeting that Matson provided. They went over their plans for access and what it's going to look like out here next year when they start the site work. It's going to be quite different. There's a lot of disruption that's going to happen. It's going to be a fairly large construction project. There'll be a fence line, transportation corridors, all that. They went along and discuss all that. It's going to mostly affect Matson with the T. It's so hard to say Manson and Matson. I get all tongue tied.
And then we put Mason on the slides.
Oh, nice.
Just to really confuse them.
Yeah, that's a little dyslexic thing shown in there for good measure. The military will also be affected because currently they use our yard out here for their helicopter operations. So we've had meetings with the users and the military to talk about all this. And frankly, we have a little bit more homework to do to figure that all out, but we started down that path. Next slide, please. So we've got a number of alternatives for longshore parking and pedestrian access. Right now, they park primarily on the crane turnout. That may or may not work. It's not going to work in the long-term future. It may work temporarily. Matson with a T or Manson with an N identified that as a possible trekking route. We haven't firmed that out yet, but it might be a truck route for access to the container cranes during ship day. So for the worst case would be for the longshoremen, we'd have to find a distant place to park and then bus the workers to and from the dock. That's a fallback if we can't find something closer. I think Toyota is that in some cases now with their operations, so it's possible that. Then for the military, we had one meeting with the military. We're trying to schedule another one, but we're looking at paving an area on the north end and making a little access road so that they can land helicopters out there. And we may have MERAD funds available to cover part of that. Yes, fund. So we're exploring that. But basically, we have a little bit more homework to do on getting ready for heavy construction next year. Next slide, please. So these are a couple of sheets from the Manson temporary facility plans. They're very busy. You have to study them in order to try to figure out what's going on. But basic idea is they have to keep the dock open, the existing dock open while they're building, and still have a construction zone around it. There's a line on there, if you study it, that's a fence line. It shows a batch plant and a whole bunch of work along the shoreline. The green line towards the right is one of their proposed truck traffic routes that goes over the crane turnout, which is now used for parking. So if they use that, no more parking on there. The other options are a little on the left side are some angled temporary trestles that they can build. It's a temporary bridge that could be used. Being Manson, are a little less favorable to that option because it's very close to their work zones. kind of cordon off a whole area for themselves and go in there. Next slide. This is just a close-up view of the previous slide, so you might be able to see it a little better, but awful lot going on in there. We're asking Manson for at least one more public meeting where they can go over that and talk about it all. The interesting thing is no matter how long you stare at this, it doesn't really become real until you see them out there with an actual fence and a crane and backhoes. And then it kind of hits you right between the eyes. Oh my God, this is real. They're taking up all of our space. And we want to minimize the shock of that by talking about it up front.
Yeah, meeting's the week of the 25th, John.
Is it? Okay.
Next meeting, so you guys will see invite.
We had some internal meetings and we're gonna try to meet with Patson and the T and talk about some options. Next slide. So this is about the north end. And the green text where it says NEPA boxes. So it turns out that in order to spend federal money, we have to have a NEPA associated with it, the National Environmental Policy Act, Protection Act, which is a permit. So the only thing left after they're done demolishing and rebuilding NES 1 are these two boxes. Those were put in the original plan. One was for a potential area for contaminated soil. The other was the stockpile area for gravel. And the gravel area is being used. There's a giant pile of dirt there now that's going to stay there for a couple of years until we find a home for it. So the NEPA box on the right was set aside for contaminated soil. There is a permit for it, so we could use merit funds to pave that and then pave a road from that back to near Terminal 3 for a helicopter landing zone. So as part of our homework assignment, we have some extra federal funds and we're going to try to do that. Slide. Maybe that. That's it. That's all I had. And I don't think I got all of Bert's.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead and cover that now. So just a update on the POVI stripping line. Was one of Bert's,
So the POVI stripping line, is on the agenda for tomorrow night. Be approved by the assembly.
Yes.
And, Udelhoven has the contract and change order to do that work, and they're standing by for waiting on approval.
just so I'm clear, does that also include the issue with, how the fuel gets diverted in, or?
That is exactly what that is. That will be POVI jumper. Yeah, and then associated with that, there was also some question about the emergency shut-off valves. We have tested and are satisfied with the performance of 5 of the 6 emergency shut-off valves. The 6th one we did not test because of risk of cross-contamination. And as soon as the stripping line problem is resolved, we will be able to test that without the risk of cross-contamination. It's actually, you can avoid with the right procedure, you can avoid the risk, but you have to do everything just right. Once we fix the stripping lines, that cross-contamination risk goes away. It'll take a couple of hours to do the test and we should be good to go. We have no reason to believe it doesn't work. We just haven't tested it because we didn't want to have the risk of cross-contamination.
Okay. Bert, any other questions on that?
No, just the crane issue too. I mean, they've might as well toot your horn, Jim. You guys made some progress on it and I've heard good reports.
Actually, we can go even more. Bert was operating the crane the other day. He managed to pick himself up and put himself on the other side of the dock. It worked really well. But Jeff Jeffers tested it this morning and gave it a 2 thumbs up.
Good. So that's the crane and anything in Flushing?
Yeah, I was just wondering when we're gonna get that report, that was, promised. The alternative fuels capability location analysis.
Yeah, this is John. I'm not sure what report was promised. Talking about.
So is this the study we were doing of what the alternatives are for building an alternative facility on T1? Is that what you're referring to?
Well,
There are two
if you
things
look
that-
on, if you look on number 11, it says M&N birth occupancy study. Used in the analysis of whether there is a need for an alternative fuel offload capability on the cargo docks.
Okay, yeah.
That was
we
an
have
action, that was an action item from last meeting.
Oh. So I think that may have fallen through the cracks with Steve leaving. We have that, it's available, I can give it to Jim today. and he can pass it on.
I can get it out to you. Realistically, with everything that's happening, it will probably get to you on Wednesday.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, then I know we covered the Moffett and Nickel review of T2 alignment, so we should have covered everything, Bert, on your list.
Yeah, there was just the other item of the, Steve agreed to provide the action of the timeline. I'll get with you after the meeting, Jim, and show you what he gave us.
That's it on the old business. Nothing from the commission. I don't see any new business. Public comments. We got folks here. Any other comments? Okay, next meeting date.
May I have a question?
Yeah.
And if I've been out of phone service, if it's been addressed or an email's been out already, I apologize, I'm not seeing it yet. Is Mr. Rubio no longer the board, involved with the board?
Steve retired last month, and right now I'm the acting clear secretary.
Is that an assembly appointed deal?
The administration drives that.
Okay.
I'm not sure when it's gonna happen.
Okay. And then in the future, as far as getting into these meetings, do I need to do something ahead of time to check in with security, or does my name need to go on a list or something, or what's your?
Basically, if we know you're coming, we'll give your name to security.
Okay, I'll RSVP meetings. Okay, no, thanks. Okay. Say you'll be in person. I will do exactly that, and then like I said, I could in the mountains. So
Yeah.
Give me much less to do.
No problem. Any other questions, comments? Next meeting it's every other month, so first or second Tuesday. Second Tuesday, I'm sorry, Monday.
It's the 9th then.
Be the 13th.
So yeah.
October 13th. October 13th at 1 p.m. Okay. No, it's every other month. Yep. All right.
13th, 1 p.m.
Thank you, everybody. It's 1:52. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks for that, John. We got that together.
Okay. Didn't have the. Gotta let me know.
No, it's a good update.